Hey Gateway Youth, I hope that you are finding a way to get through this difficult time. Hope that you're surviving remote schooling, as difficult as it might be. I've even started hearing rumours of some of you who didn't mind remote learning at the start, but are starting to find it a little bit frustrating being stuck at home instead of being able to get out to school. And I guess I just want you to know that I do feel for you as much as I can. I miss getting out of the house. I miss getting to see you guys and hang out with you on a Friday night. I miss not having to record my messages at home in front of a bookshelf and a random spare screen. I miss getting to see my mates at work and getting to hang out with my friends outside of that as well. So, we're right there with you, and I'm sorry that this is what life is like for us at the moment. And so tonight, I guess I kind of want to tackle maybe a little bit of a tricky situation that I think might help us in a lot of what we've been facing recently. I want to talk about what the Bible says about how to handle disappointment. A lot of the time, we try to focus on encouraging you guys and lifting you up and talking about how great life can be with God. And we try to make sure that you also know that following Jesus doesn't mean that everything in life is going to be perfect. And so I guess I want to talk about what happens when everything in life isn't perfect, even though we're following Jesus. What happens when we're disappointed? What happens when we're maybe even disappointed by God? The first thing I want to tell you is that God knew we were going to face disappointment, and he doesn't pretend that it doesn't exist. In fact, our manual for life, the Bible, the book that we can pick up anytime we want to be a little bit closer to God or hear something that he has for us, it's actually filled with people who face disappointment. It's not just a book talking about how awesome God is. It's talking about people who really struggled. There's heaps of them. There's Elijah, who cries out to God, asking him to take his life when he's being hunted by someone. There's Hagar, who took herself away into the desert to weep because she couldn't bear to watch what was going on in her son's life. There's Hannah, who wept bitterly, it says, and prayed in deep anguish because of the torment going on in her life and in her marriage. Not to mention the more well-known characters from the Bible that if you've grown up through Sunday school, you would know, who've wrestled with massive disappointments like Moses and David and Job and Paul. Let's just pick out one example of a disappointed person. One little thing you need to know from in the Bible is that names are really important, and they really had a lot of meaning around names. And that's even why when Jesus took on some disciples, he would change their names to a new name, as if this means I'm going to set your life on a new course. And when Jesus did it, of course, it was always filled with hope and promise for the future. But let's hear this example from Naomi, who calls out to God and says, "Don't call me Naomi, call me Mara, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has brought misfortune on me." That's a pretty serious call. And honest, it's a little bit like calling out God. Like, you gave me all of these promises and they haven't turned out to be true right now. What is going on? And I think it can be tempting to think that this is kind of a sin, maybe, that maybe something like this, what Naomi said, maybe that's going to push God out of our lives. But that doesn't really seem to be what happens in the Bible. Actually, what happens in the Bible, in every single one of the cases I mentioned just before, God shows up after their moment of disappointment, after their moment of honesty. When we say you can turn to God when life isn't going well, when you're feeling disappointed, and even when you're feeling disappointed with God, we mean it, because he's the one who said that that's okay. He's the one who set this pattern of saying, yeah, turn to me, tell me how horrible your life is, and I'll be there to listen and encourage you and give you hope for the future. Because God doesn't promise that every moment of our life is going to be good, but God does promise us hope for the future. You know, if you need a verse to hang on to in that to remind you that there's hope coming, I love this just tiny section of a psalm written by David. Again, a man who knew disappointment. And his take on this is this: weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. I can't make any promises for you about when the morning is coming. I definitely can't make any promises about when the morning is coming when it comes to all of this COVID stuff. And maybe you really feel that you're deeply in a period of weeping. But I can tell you, God's promise again and again is that rejoicing is coming in the morning. So look to him. God, where is the rejoicing that's coming in the morning? In the midst of all of my disappointment, God, you promise to be the one that can step in and give me hope for the future. So what is it? And so I guess we have to loop back around to my question from the very start of this message. How do we deal with disappointment? And the answer is we have to hand that disappointment over to God. We have to find a way to trust him, even though it's difficult. We have to look for the little positives that God has planted in our lives and make the most of them. And we need to spend time with God, hearing about his plan for our life and his promises, whether that's through praying, whether that's through reading the Bible, whether that's through going and hanging out in nature, whether that's hanging out with your dog who's always bugging you while you're trying to record messages. Aren't you, Alexa? You're a good dog. Go on. Good girl. Whatever it is that reminds you of God's goodness in your life. That was not planned, by the way. She literally just rolled over here. Literally. Whatever it is that you can find that's positive in your life, that puts a smile on your face, whatever it is that's going to help you connect with God, then seek those things out. And don't be afraid of sharing your disappointment with God. He's right there. He wants to hear about it. He wants to encourage you and he wants to give you hope for the future. And I think we all need a little bit of hope for the future right now. So I hope you guys have a great discussion around this and can figure out some more concrete ways, to put some legs on what I've talked about tonight. And hopefully I'll see you all again soon.